Hey, hey, hey. How's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for showing up. We've got a few people in the house already, so that's good. That's good.
Crazy Mad's already starting. We're nice
I
to
knew
see
he
Murph
would.
didn't fall asleep. Is that what you said? You told people I fell asleep? I went to urgent care because
I
my
did
nose
not
bled
tell
so
people.
much. I had a blood clot that came out, and I was like, "Oh, I better get this checked out." Like,
I did not tell people you were asleep.
what did you say?
That was probably from like a year ago when you did fall asleep. But
Oh, I'm not denying that I haven't fallen asleep like during a stream or
so,
anything. Yeah,
oh
but
my gosh.
last week I did not fall asleep.
Well, we have a special guest on tonight for the second time, which is really cool. Before long, we're going to have to do the OSNL thing. So, Murph, you want to tell them what we're going to do when they reach?
Now, it would be interesting because Kimosabi might be close, but
Yeah.
SNL has the 5 Timers Club. So when someone's on our show for 5 times in a row,
yeah, we may have to give like a special reward.
Yeah,
right?
they get a
Like
jacket. SNL.
Yeah.
Here,
all right.
It's so special we don't even know. So
well,
amazing.
So he's not quite made it that far yet, but he could be on his way. He's a 2-timer for now. So let's welcome to the show, Peter Simeti.
Hey, I'm a 2-timer. Nice.
Yeah, that's right.
2-timer.
Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Do I really get a jacket when it's 5?
Well, we have to think about it.
SNL gave out jackets.
We'd
like to do something way cool.
I heard you guys say you were giving out jackets.
A jacket? That's what
this
you
is
want,
all your fault, Murph.
I just need 3 more appearances.
Well, I was thinking wrestling belts.
Oh, I like that.
Belts. I like that.
Yeah, the mayor belt that he wears, the bird belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That fit our brand.
No, because we're gonna down the road on one of the campaigns, we're gonna have that belt. So that's not it's gotta be something.
You said it again.
The jacket. Like we could do the jacket with the emblem. Maybe we'll do that.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, let's say hello to the chat. We have Crazy Mad in the house. Welcome, Crazy Mad. Thank you for joining us once again. Who else do we have? Mo Biggs. Hail Mo. Anybody else yet?
If Mo Biggs doesn't sound like, hey, I'm Mo Biggs, I'm going to be really disappointed.
You know what? We could do 5 timers. They can have a meal with Mo Biggs.
A meal with Mo Biggs. Wow. We'd have to get Mo to agree with that.
Why wouldn't he get a free meal?
Yeah. Well, you could stream the meal together. That would be a new type of stream. That's a great idea. We have Chris Fisk in the house. Hello, Chris. Thanks for coming on. For visiting. And that's about it for right now. We'll probably have some different people pop in. Hopefully, we have some more people. We have like 6 watching.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying we had 6 people watching, and if you are watching, like it, hit that like, subscribe.
Yeah, whether you like it or not, hit that like button.
Right. It's just
Give
a
him
button.
A thumbs up. This isn't my channel where you could just thumbs down it into oblivion. This is theirs. Be nice.
They say though that helps. That the thumb down you still get because it's like interaction. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that.
It probably is. Who knows? That's probably the secret. You probably get even more interaction.
That's probably
knowing how like negative fueled based social media is. They're like, yes, let the hate flow through it.
I mean, let's be honest. Awesome. Those are the YouTubes that do well. People that just hate on stuff.
Yeah, always. I think we're too positive, Murph. We have to get a little negative here.
Yeah, like the thumb. So thumbs down the show, guys. Thumbs down.
Oh shoot. Okay, so let's get to the question of the week by Crazy Mad.
Oh wait, what was the question of the week last week? Because I missed it.
Oh no, you missed that one. We don't get to do that again. You have to go back and watch the rewatch.
Was it good? I know I should watch it.
It was great. It was great, Murph. You missed out on a great one.
You're not even going to give me a clue what it was?
I'll let Crazy Mad tell you. Okay. Question of the week this week. Would you rather get a phone call or a text?
See, that depends. Like,
man.
Usually, because I don't like being bothered, I'd say text. But here's the thing. If it's like good news or something like new that's interesting, I want to talk on it, not tweet. You know what I mean? Like, if I just saw a movie I really liked, I want to talk on the phone with someone about it. and what I think, like a TV show. Like I just watched Stranger Things. I thought that was amazing. I'd want to talk about that, not text. But like any regular thing, text, please.
I don't know. It depends on the subject matter. So like when my dad's like, "Hey, call me," I'm like, "Oh crap! I know it's important." But there's a lot of times where I think a lot of information can just be handled over text.
Yeah,
and
it depends.
So it does depend.
Yeah, if it's my mom, it's always serious and should be a phone call, and she'll text.
That's right.
And then she'll call up and be like, she'll call me up and it'll be, so how's things? What's going on? And I'm like, you called me.
Yeah.
Oh, I just called you to see what's going on with you. I'm like, and then I say something, and then it turns into the whole call's about what she wants to talk about.
That's right. Yeah,
So
they call with a reason.
Every bit of it is always, it's always something. It's not as simple. I mean, if it was a complete and perfect stranger, a text would be. It's way more ominous. Yes. I think. It's like, wow, the hell, like they're texting me. What is this? Who the hell is this? And they're just like, hello, or they'll say something and they think you're someone else, and they start it's a whole paragraph, and it's like, how do you say wrong number? Yes. It just feels like I'm just gonna pretend this never happened, and they'll figure it out.
Oh my gosh.
It feels so much more weird when it's a wrong number text.
I've had somebody do that to me on Twitter in the DMs where they just go, hello. And I'm like, who the hell are you? And it may have been somebody I followed, but I didn't realize, it was a long time ago or something like that. And they're just like, hello. And that's all they say. So I was like, what do I say back to them?
Hello would be.
Do I say hello, or do I go, hey man, how's it going? And like really get laid back?
Yeah.
Or
off the subject a little bit. My favorite is when I get a DM and it's, can I ask you a question?
Oh.
And I'm like, you just did. You just did. How do I say you just did? And that was it. You got the one. And you wasted it. You blew it.
Oh, that's too funny. Hey, we got Jefferson Roswell in the house.
Interesting.
Right.
Jefferson rules. Jefferson's the best.
Nice.
I'll say this. When I have a customer complain about something, I would much rather that company have a chat that you can go into and talk to someone than being on the phone for 25 minutes and constantly being like, I got to send you this place or that place.
Yeah, you got to like threaten them sometime and just be like, look, just get me to whoever the biggest supervisor is that's around. Just do that because this is insane. But I know that this is just going to go back and forth. And oh man, I've had stuff like that. That's nuts. You'll be on the phone for like an hour and then they keep playing pretend that there isn't anybody more in charge than them. And you're like, look, I know you're not the absolute person in charge here.
It's so true.
So, yeah. It's a funny world.
Whew. Hey, the Art and Times of Jay Ryan. Thanks for coming by. Chris Fisk says, I prefer text. I don't like talking to people in real time because I'm a dummy and socially awkward. Oh, man. Well,
what I love is when you pick up,
and
I don't usually, I kind of screen calls nowadays like crazy, but and every now and then when I'm expecting like a delivery and they do the appointment and it'll be from a new number, so it'll be the area code here. So I'll pick it up and I'm thinking that this is the place and they want to schedule, but sometimes it isn't. And my favorite is when you pick up and it's silent for like 3 or 4 seconds because it's a telemarketer and they're waiting for you to pick up, so they get the notice that they can now talk. And then all of a sudden they start saying, this is Peter Simeti? And I'm like, who wants to know?
Oh.
Peter, you have another call for you.
That's awesome. That's fun.
Yeah, it's fun playing around with them sometime when, especially when they get really rude and weird and you could tell that, they want me to pay for my taxes with gift cards and stuff. That's fun. And you have fun with them back.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of text messages from things like that. Like it's a random, hey, Amazon, someone's going in your Amazon and your Google, like they want you to click it, and it's like...
Yeah, my car warranty is always expiring. You guys too, the same? I didn't even know I had one.
Yes,
but,
multiple times.
Yeah.
So it just keeps.
I've extended it about 6 or 7 times now. I don't understand. They keep calling to say I keep upping it up. I got probably like 57 years of car warranty.
You know what sucks though is when you have those friends that love to correct you if you have something misspelled. Because when I'm texting, I just do the sweeping thing, and so tons of times there's stuff that's not spelled correct, and it's like, dude, I'm texting you. I'm not a business.
That sounds dangerous, though. That sounds like it could be a total other word, and then
yes, and you're going, wait, what are you saying? And he's like, what do you mean? I put it right there. No, you did not. What do you mean? And he's like, what do you mean? What do I mean? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go blow my brains out because I can't communicate right now.
See, so, he's one of those. Yeah, he's like a spelling Nazi. Insane. Like he works for a library.
But is it spelling or is it a whole other word?
It's a whole other word.
I'd say either, maybe 50-50 chance.
Oh. So it's like a fun word problem game with you. It's like Mad Libs.
It's terrible.
Yes. Yeah, no. See, I think it's fun, and he loses his shit about it.
Yeah.
Which makes me want to not correct.
That's what happens.
Interesting.
Lord Ravener says, "Can I ask you 2 questions?"
See, that's at least they get that one freebie out of the way.
They got one left.
Yeah, I would probably actually respond to that because it's more intriguing.
Yeah.
Than can I ask you a question? Because that sounds like, oh, here's the rest of my night. It's gone. I see that and I'm like, this is just 4 hours aside.
I've had that happen. Yeah, where you say one thing and then that person's off on a.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. Crazy. So it's especially when I have no idea who the person even is. But that's the thing, when you know who they are, they don't come in there with, "Can I ask you a question?" It's always they don't know who the heck you are from Adam, and then it's just it's something insane, and and then I'm like, well, I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah. Look at this one.
What Brent says here. Because I know when he calls or texts, it's basically he wants me to watch like a YouTube video. It's not a conversation. It's I want you to do things now. So that's a completely different thing. So yes, I ignore Brett.
Brett has you pegged, man.
Well, am I wrong about the YouTube? Hey, I got 7 YouTubes for you to watch, and let's talk about it after. It's like this isn't an easy, this is gonna be a long
homework assignment.
Right.
Yeah.
Chris Fisk says, Market dos para español operator.
Do you think you said? I was wondering. Do you think you said that right? Do you think that was?
Do you think I did? I think I did pretty good.
I don't think it's that far off. I think that's pretty much right.
Yeah. Do we know what that is?
Nope.
Yeah, it's pretty much like hit number 2 for Spanish.
That's what it is. Hit number 2 for Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dos is 2, okay. So you're probably right.
Yeah, dos para okay, that makes sense.
And then that's why he's like, just give me the operator. Just 0. I'm just hitting 0 the whole time. I'm just like, just 0 the whole way. I don't care about the robots and the AI and the, then I'll talk to like a human and they're like, oh, could we record your voice so we can just use it for when, this way we can just verify your account? And I'm like, no, you can't. That sounds like you're going to, and I told one flat out, a bank, I said, that sounds like you're going to flat out get my permission to record my voice so you can just use that for anything.
Yeah.
It's bad enough that this is already being a recorded phone call, but now you're actually getting my permission specifically to gain access to my account and record it. And I said, how am I supposed to know that if someone plays my voice that they can't just access my account through my voice? I have a YouTube and whatnot. Someone could just play, whatever and get my voice, my name, because they wanted me to record my name. And they said, oh, well, the program can tell. like we're all dead. We're all dead and we don't know it yet.
Oh,
that's
Chris says
Terminator started, right?
Yeah, it is.
It was the bank
power over.
Nothing's worse when they give you like 7 options and none of the options is what you want.
Yeah.
And you hit 0 and they're like, that's not a a response.
And then it's like, well,
what do you do?
Tell us what you'd like to do. And I'm like, I'd like to effing talk to a effing human being. It turns into person. Like that planes, trains, automobiles scene.
Nice. That's awesome.
And then it's like, okay, we will take you to a human. I'm like, oh.
Terrible. Okay, Chris Fisk says, I always answer unknown numbers in a foreign language and pretend I don't speak English. I did that once, and the person on the other end got livid. Oh, man. I bet they would. I usually Usually when you get people calling, though, I mean, they are foreign. I have the people from India calling.
You could always pick up the phone and say, "Hello, I'm deaf." Hello, I'm deaf.
I usually just say, "No, thanks."
Speaking louder or slower, and then if you go, "I'm sorry, I'm deaf. I just told you I'm deaf," and then like see how they. I like that.
And be like, "I'm waiting for a couple of seconds because you probably responded, but I still can't. I am deaf."
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Mo Biggs is right.
I didn't think we were going to get this much conversation out of text.
That's a pretty good question.
Yeah, it is.
Caller text. It's the question of our time.
He says, never choose Hindi, Tagalog. Did I say that right? Or French when you mess with telemarketers. Ooh.
Tagalog? What is that?
Tagalog? I don't know.
I don't know what language that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
Interesting, though. I just hang up on them. I mean, I don't really mess with them.
Look what you've done, Crazy Matt. We're 16 minutes into the show.
That's what usually happens with the question of the week.
That's what, yeah, we just roll with it. It's a lot of fun, though. So,
I wonder if the
what
chat
would we do
realizes
without
you'll
it?
say what. Sorry, I went over you.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I wonder if the chat realized you'll say whatever is written, so they could put. Well, he could have put anything else in there, and you would have said it. It would have been great.
It depends. I try to read it ahead of time before I get the chance to say it out loud.
There's a lot of funny memes, but Joe Biden doing the teleprompter like freaking. Now I can't think of his name.
Ron Burgundy.
Oh my god, that is just the funniest thing in the world.
I gotta see it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh man, it's been all over TikTok.
Well, his son's been all over the place lately, so I've been trying to stay away from it all because.
So after what he's supposed to say, he literally then says 2 lines that he's not supposed to say. Like it's either something like repeat the line or and I forget what it is.
Oh, like the instructions. Smile now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Oh, I love that. That's so funny.
When Girl Scouts come knocking, Murph speaks fluent Tagalog.
I've never had that happen where the Girl Scouts have come door to door. I've seen them at like Walmart, but I've never had that happen.
Jeez, what a mess. Okay, well, let's move on just a little bit. We're going to show some updates for Ballad of the Celestials, right?
Yeah, spoiler. Derek wants to show it, but why not?
Spoiler?
Another page.
Well, this is our preliminary logo for Mysterium Comics, right? So no spoilers yet, except the logo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we're going to do that
well,
first.
It's still a spoiler.
Yeah, well, you know.
Is this the definite finished, or are you putting it back for people to...
Well, so everybody was giving me some flack about the letters, so I was like, okay, I'm going to mess with the letters, which I wasn't tied to the letters on this anyway. And I felt like letters to me, sometimes if you have a shaped logo, you have something that's been really a graphic out of the letters, I think that's something that you can work on. But a lot of times you can change the font of the name, and it's not even going to affect people very much. You know what I mean? It just depends on how I think you want to market your brand. Does that make sense? I don't know how you feel about that, Pete. I know you have alternate is always the same way, right? Like you have them blocked out a certain
You don't have like a secondary logo?
Not really. I mean, we have, it's pretty much the same kind of font and everything. We've had, I think, like 4 or 5 logos over the years. That they're all kind of like morphing into the one we have now.
Okay.
But yeah, the ones whenever we use them, it's pretty much the same logo, or it's a take on the same logo. So even if it's inside of a circle or whatever, the font stays the same.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can pick a font, but even having a band, I'm like, I see bands where they change their font every album. You know what I mean? And I'm going,
I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me. If I was Iron Maiden, Iron Maiden has, just like on my shirt, it's always this way when you see their name. It's always the same. I don't know if I can get above my mic, but it's always the same logo.
Yeah, I like the consistency.
I like consistency. I just don't know.
Why? What's the other one that you have?
Always has to be that. Well, I don't have any yet. I'm going to mess with it. I'm going to play around with it. But everybody was telling me, they want to see something different. Plus, they didn't like how the letters were touching here, and then other letters were not touching. And so they were like, yeah, you need to work on it. And I'm like, that's fine. I'll do that.
Yeah.
But
that's like a
on the other hand,
issue.
Yes. But there's a part of me that goes, we might change the font next time. I don't know. I don't know if that'd throw people off or not, but I like getting creative and changing it up. That's just me.
This kind of looks like, to me, a production company logo for a film.
Oh, yeah?
That's more the vibe I get.
Okay.
Than a comic.
Okay.
But it's just it's tough coming up with stuff like that. You have to pick a font that feels indicative to the company and the brand messaging and the kind of books you make, and so if it's horror, if it's very serious, if it's you need these more kind of still kind of fonts, generally no serifs and things like that.
Sure.
There's serifs over here. It's tough. It really is. It's difficult to pinpoint sometime exactly what it is you want it to look like. But yeah, certain things like the kerning on the font, I would say keep trying out some other fonts.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to do. I mean, we're going to mess with it for a while, but
thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you guys your branding is pretty solid. I love the way you have it written. I love that little circle you put on the cards that you did as well.
Oh, so, yeah.
In the corner. And I thought that was really nice. It made it look good.
Thank you. But yeah, it looks like a corner box kind of thing. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it was meant to be. We almost went with the floating heads from Ballad of the Celeste. We were going to take all the characters and put it like the X-Men.
Yeah, I always loved that. So you knew the characters who were going to be in the comic.
Yeah.
I just think they don't do it anymore. No. I haven't seen a comic do that in a long time.
They don't, but we've done that at Alterna.
Oh, really?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I really like.
We've got a couple issues like that when it's like an ensemble thing or a team or even just for that specific kind of issue. There were a couple series that had that. Even the corner box for King Cryptid #3 that has the 4 friends, the 4 kids.
Cool.
It's got their heads in the corner box.
Awesome.
But something like this, I think, if you were to, I love when logos aren't just necessarily the written word and then an image, but more that it's all in one. So that there is some kind of design element to it that's an image along with the font and the logo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Because the Alterna logo, I don't think if many know, but the Alterna, let me see if I could show.
Yeah. I'll stop this if you want to share it.
Here we are. I'll get this cover here. So this is the cover to Blood Realm #1. So the Alterna logo, if some of you don't know or realize what it is, it's actually the letter A on its side, and it's the outline of that. So using that shape of the letter A and then just laying it down, it actually created more of this graphic element here that kind of has this upward angle. And the upward angle type of thing, it's like an ever upward, ever onward kind of a feel to it. And then having the letters kind of converge and lean back. And then comics, I wanted something that was straightforward and just proud to be comic booky and fun. So that's why comics looks the way that looks. But we've had a couple different logos over the years, but it was the very first one was very cartoony and quite frankly pretty horrible. But I didn't think that we would be doing anything more than that at that point in time. It was more just me putting the word on something to get one of my own comics out there, and that was that. It wasn't really much thought. And then and that's the thing that's beautiful about logos is you can always change them over time. Some of them become iconic, so I don't think we're going to be changing this one for a very long time, if ever. But some of our earlier ones, they look kind of closer to the one we have now, but it's way more apparent that it's an A, and then Alterna Comics is on top of the A. So it's pretty interesting coming up with logos. I think it's a lot of fun.
I do too. I like to do it. It's just difficult, and it takes a long time. To get the right one that feels right.
Even think about. Oh, hey, Infinity, what's up, Alejandro? Even think about something to do with just like even Mysterion.
Yeah.
And
we did, but that is so. It's so hard to pinpoint one thing for that, and I think that's where it was. We were like,
actually, I have some ideas because I didn't think of what Pete said. I actually kind of have some ideas in my head right now.
Okay.
About some, with it being the name being on like an item.
Sure. I like that idea.
You could even do something like Mysterion, and instead of like the I, it's a question mark or something like that. There's ways to play with it. Or even like the top of it, it could be like a lowercase I with the dot and then a question mark on the top. You could do all kinds of little fun things like that with play on the words and get a graphic element in there.
Yeah, that's cool. I even thought about changing the character at the top. So if we do come up with like a specific font, I may keep that forever, or for a while, and then make the characters just change every single time. So instead of the floating heads, you'd have just a different character in the box every time.
Man, I'm getting like raped in the comments.
What?
Well, what's going on?
Talking about me falling asleep, and then blue light specials brought up again. And blue light specials never gonna die.
Hey Murph, I don't know why you made this comment about you. He just said I thought you guys were going to be Blue Light Comics. That's all. Not about you.
I wouldn't be
Murph.
surprised if that's already taken.
You can even carve a shape or design through the text like in the Mass Effect logo. I'll have to check that out.
I can't think of what the Mass Effect logo looks like.
Yeah, I'll have to go look at it.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention that Crazy Mad, but that's immediately what I first thought of too.
You named your company after a South Park superhero. Mysterion is a South Park superhero?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure that's Kenny. Is that Kenny, Crazy Mad? I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
That's him.
That's awesome.
Well,
because Cartman is the coon.
Kenny keeps dying, right? Isn't Kenny the one that always dies?
Well, I think they stopped after a while. That he wasn't dying.
Did they stop doing that?
I think they run out of ideas. I mean, you get to episode 300, it's kind of hard to kill somebody off. I haven't watched it in a long time. That or The Simpsons.
With a sideways K, like the alternate A, in memory of the fallen Kmart.
Man, a sideways K is a really interesting looking logo. It looks like an open V on a line.
Yeah.
Nice. Wasn't Kenny really Mysterion? That was his superpower, resurrection. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
awesome.
Sure.
Pretty cool idea. Really cool idea. Okay. Well, we have one other thing to share. We're going to get out of here and let Pete talk about some things. Murph, you want to introduce it?
So we're showing. This will probably be the last page we show.
Yeah.
Out of the 30 pages. You need me to show it?
No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show it. I was just wondering if you're going to introduce it. You just want me to
it's kind of hard to introduce. It's probably the last page before the big end battle of the comic. So it's probably page like number 20-ish.
Really happy with this page.
Yeah. So it'll make more sense when you read the book of what's going on here.
I messed it up.
Huh?
I was trying to zoom in and I hit the wrong button. So there we go. They'll let you see some art at least.
Yeah, so you can kind of see there's these cards and there's some action going on the cards, and the cards play something just in this comic. The cards won't always play a role in things, but this is just kind of one thing in the lore that exists that cards can kind of impact what's going on in real life. It doesn't control, it just kind of nudges things in the right way. And so instead of just seeing the action, you're kind of seeing the action on the cards as they're laid there. on the ground. But again, it makes more sense when you're reading the story of what's particularly going on.
Yep.
And that's why we have the mayor card that we will down the road actually have a card game, kind of how the card game affects the world in our story. We hope people like.
Yep. Yeah, this
is that a good way without saying too much about what's going on?
Sure. I mean, just let them get what they get out of it for now. I mean,
well,
I like the art.
Who are the characters in the scene here? What's going on?
So it's all of our fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have Mayor at the top with all of his group. So Mayor's jumping out of the panel here. Then we have Sabra with the arrow, pulling the arrow out of his. I can't think of the name.
Quiver.
Quiver. Thank you. Out of his quiver. We have Chiru sitting back behind him, and then the blonde guy with the horned shoulder skull is Adelburn, and then we have Zoom sitting leaning back against the tree, and they didn't expect Mayor to jump out into the action at this point, but he just
he's pulling a Leroy Jenkins, huh?
Heck yeah, man. He's diving right in. And then he just takes off, and then you see what happens. He just goes after these dudes and takes them out.
Yeah, it's kind of...
That's pretty much what happens, and then they're chasing after him. So
yeah, they're following him into battle.
Yep.
They're taking his lead.
All right.
So, yeah, I thought it was really one of the most interesting pages that we did. Brent, who was in the chat just a few minutes ago, helped us work this page out. He helped us kind of thumbnail it, which was fun because, we were a little stuck on where do we want to go, how do we want it to look, and he came in and was like, well, what if that happened? And we were like, hey, that sounds great. And then we drew it out, and this is the result. And I love that kind of stuff, that kind of collaboration. It was a lot of fun. And I'm really happy with this page. I know it looks really busy, but I think once you read the context of the story, it'll make a lot more sense.
Is it like a 2-page spread kind of a thing? The cards spilling to the other page? No?
No, it's not.
This is just one.
Not this page. Yeah. We don't really have too many. Do we only have one spread, I think?
One double-page spread.
Yeah.
We haven't really shown that one yet. And I don't think we will. And then what else? I think that's about it. I feel like graphically, though, I feel like this... I haven't seen too many books do this kind of thing yet, which I was happy to see. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just haven't seen people utilize, And
we didn't want to show, for the longest time, we didn't want to show our best stuff because we kind of want to leave stuff out there for people who buy it.
Yeah.
Murph, I know usually
no
people
spoilers. Hey, Amanda, thanks for coming by.
Well, again, this page is very spoiler-ish of what's going on in the world and, kind of everything building up to this point. You have a lot of you have a lot of different story kind of getting to this point, and this is kind of the turning point in the book to now where everything's going to go. Okay,
so Infinity says, I like the colors a lot, but I think the art might need some work personally. I don't mean to be a hater or anything. Not even sure what this is for, to be honest. So this is for Ballad of the Celestials, our book, getting ready to fulfill, hopefully in August. So we're getting our last pages colored. We have about 5 more pages to get back from our colorist.
And lettering.
And we have letters and then print. So that's where we're at. And then fulfillment. So we will be there very soon.
I'm guessing you're having letters on the page too, right?
Yeah. So colors then letters. That's what we were saying. So it'll go to Eric Weathers right after this, after the coloring, and then we'll be ready to print. It's going to be good.
Thanks,
Did you ever
Crazy
reveal
Man.
the mystery on how he suffered that anal burn? Making fun of our characters.
How do we not realize that? All these years having that name, that was such a...
Leave it to Mo, right?
Poor choice. Poor choice of character names.
Yeah. So Chris loved the cards. He said those cards look sweet, like special moves played in combat. Exactly. So, and then, all right, I've seen Ballad floating around. Congratulations, you guys. Thanks, man. Thank you. We appreciate that. And he wanted plausible deniability before savagely roasting Dirk's art. It's okay. I can take that. I'm all good with it. I mean, I know our art isn't going to hit everybody, and that's the beauty of comics, right? I mean, you pick up a comic book usually because you like it, or you might leave it aside just because you don't. Even though it's still a good story, doesn't mean you like the way it's drawn or something like that. So it's all good.
And vice versa.
Yeah, it happens. So not a big deal. Okay, Pete, you have a campaign going on, and it is doing very well. And I backed it.
Thank you.
I did back it.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I had to. This one excited me. I was really excited for it. So,
thank you.
Do you want us to share it, or do you want to talk about it?
If you guys want to share it, that'd be great.
Okay. Do that.
Sometimes when I share the campaigns, it glitches up everything on this end.
That's all right.
Am I sharing it or are you sharing it?
I got it.
Okay.
So there it is. King Cryptid 1 through 4.
Yeah, so thank you guys. If you're in the chat and you've backed, if you have spread the word or anything like that, thank you guys so much. We got 705 backers on board. There's 12 days left here. I'm looking to get to 775 so that it's the most backed alternate campaign. And then we unlock a backer bonus, a little 1.5-inch coin with King Cryptid on it and the full moon in the background. But if you haven't backed yet, please consider doing so. King Cryptid, it's a story for people who really love paranormal, cryptid, supernatural kinds of stories. It's got a bit of sci-fi, a little bit of fantasy and horror as well in there. But basically, it's just an adventure story that follows King Cryptid and his adventures. So he's a 500-year-old cursed immortal that resides in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And he's had a nice, peaceful, secluded life for about 30 or so years. There's been no spottings of King Cryptid. They think that he's dead. They think maybe it was all just a myth completely. Maybe it was just someone dressed up like a Sasquatch with a cape. So he's just pretty much been turned into just something in the storybooks. There's been no recent sightings of him, but what happens in issue 1, we dive right into it. So it's not a story that's told linearly per se. Eventually we'll get into little bits here and there that touch upon his origin and things like that, but issue 1 goes right into it. So we meet the Behemoth first, and the Behemoth is being transported up to New Hampshire. At that point in time, and the Behemoth is a human hybrid between a human crossed with the genetics of the legendary Mothman. So this thing escapes from its transport, flips the van, gets out of it. As the van is almost going to explode, King Cryptid, who has been kind of seeing a lot of these things occurring, a lot of odd transports coming through the area. He's sort of like a quiet protector of the forest and of the White Mountain region. He's been seeing these odd things occurring. So he's keeping his eye on this. He sees this thing happen, and he goes and he rescues and he pulls the people out of the van. So what happens is that they catch a little bit of a glimpse of him, and they relay that the next day when a cryptid bounty hunter comes along to retrieve the Behemoth. They tell him, we don't necessarily know what the hell we were transporting, but there was this thing that was there, and it looks like this, and it took off, and it saved our lives. So the cryptid bounty hunter knows exactly what he's looking for, but he is not prepared for the fact that he's going to have to get 2 things now, and both of them, of course, being huge. Behemoth is like 9 feet tall, and then King Cryptid is a 7'2", 400 pounds. So he can tell, but from the tracks, that there are 2 things going on, and then, of course, from the testimony of one of the passengers, he knows that there is something that he's really not necessarily prepared for, but he's looking forward to the challenge, because this cryptid bounty hunter goes by the name of Victor Lugo, and he used to be a world-renowned big game hunter. And now he's gotten bored of that, and he wants to start hunting down cryptids. So he's hired to track down the Behemoth, but again, is not prepared necessarily for King Cryptid. Has King Cryptid ever climbed Mount Washington with his car to get one of those bumper stickers? He could just fly up there. I'm sure he's probably got a couple in his cave wall. It's it's a really fun story in terms of a lot of the New England lore with a lot of different paranormal stuff that's occurred. There's going to be stories eventually where we get out of the New England region. There's going to be flashback stories. The second story has to do with this thing called the Granite Beast and King Cryptid's power set. And King Cryptid's powers come from the moon, essentially. He's got this enchanted kind of mysterious origin moonstone thing going on. It's embedded into his crown of bone. He got that about 400 or so years ago from a Wampanoag shaman. And it basically allows him to have his inner humanity come through. Whereas when he was originally cursed, he was just a mindless savage beast. Killed, ate whatever in sight, fed on animal and person alike. And he did that for about 100 or so years. He was powerless to stop that, completely powerless to it. And eventually a Wampanoag shaman comes across him, recognizes who this might be through the stories, and helps him out. So he's had his humanity intact ever since. But the thing is, with that moonstone, it comes at a price. So during the phases of the moon, his powers wax and wane. So when he's on a full moon kind of binge there, the moonstone soaks up all the rays of that. Speaking of which, there's a full moon tomorrow night. So he's at his heightened powers on a full moon. He can lift or move up to 10 tons. He can fly at speeds of up to 200 pounds. His healing factor is greatly enhanced. He's a force to be reckoned with. But on the night of a new moon, he's practically powerless. So he's still strong. I mean, he's 7'2", 400 pounds. So imagine a person of similar build. He could still do quite a bit of damage, but it's nothing like lifting 10 tons and flying at speeds of 200 pounds, 200 miles an hour. So on the night of a new moon, what happens is that his moonstone doesn't get charged by the moon's light. So it's draining slowly, and it depletes as he uses his power throughout the course of the month. By the time it's a new moon, if he uses up the last bit of his power, which he does in issue 2, he has to make it back to a cosmic spring inside of his cave before the sun rises. Once the sun rises, he returns back to his feral state, and he's like that until the moon recharges his moonstone once again and allows his inner humanity to come through once more. So on the night of this new moon in issue 2, we have the Granite Beast who comes along, and you could scroll down a little bit and we could see some of that. But the Granite Beast is essentially descended from an ancient rock beast that crash landed into the side of the mountain. And by doing so, this rock beast merged with the mountain and basically came to life with it. But by crashing into the side of that mountain, it created this cave and created that cosmic healing spring. You could keep going down a little bit more, actually. Yeah. Okay. So because of the fact that this whole cave and everything was created and King Cryptid is using it to basically call his home and also the place that he recharges and restores his power, the Granite Beast has been searching for it and he finds it. But then he finds, of course, that King Cryptid has been basically a squatter the entire time. This isn't necessarily his home. He feels like this is my ancestral home. I have a right to it. You're not worthy of being here. And he wants him gone. So the two get into a bit of a fight. And what happens is that the Granite Beast he has no idea who the hell King Cryptid is. He doesn't care. He just wants him gone. But King Cryptid knows that his power set is incredibly low on this night. So he can't let on to the fact that he could potentially be in some serious trouble. So he has to outwit the Granite Beast. He has to be careful. But the Granite Beast also is not only just smart, he's got a temper. So you can't really reason with him too much. He doesn't have much compassion. He wants what he wants. So the issue plays out, and we learn about the Moonstone. We learn about King Cryptid's power set, and we learn about the, I guess, uneasy relationship that ensues between him and the Granite Beast. With issue 3, it's a flashback issue, so we've got 4 kids in 1984. It's a September 19th. Yeah, September 19th, 1984. So these kids, they're obsessed with Ghostbusters. They just spent a couple months watching it. They're all into paranormal stuff. They go out into the White Mountain Forest, and they're looking for cryptids, especially King Cryptid. And basically what they find that night changes their lives. And actually, we're going to see a lot of those kids throughout the series, with probably 2 or 3 more issues of them being kids, but also we're going to see them as adults. So we're going to see them later on, and they actually have a pretty big part to play within the series.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's not like a throwaway issue that's just a something for the kids to get into or something like. It's an all ages kind of issue, but it's definitely not. Yeah, it's definitely not just aimed at kids. But everything in King Cryptid is relatively episodic in terms of you could pick up issue 30 or you could pick up issue 2 or whatever it may be and still enjoy the series, the story. There's strong story elements set up, so this way you're acclimated very quickly to the situation at hand, to the characters. It's not this kind of thing where you see the first 4 issues are being offered and you think, well, if I don't read 1 through 4, I'm going to be completely lost. So you could bounce around and skip around throughout the whole series if you'd like. It's very old school comic book that way.
Previously on the X-Men.
Yeah, and there's going to be a couple of story arc type issues where we have like a 3-parter or something like that. But
Love it.
We let you know when we do something like that. But so issue 4, we have Broog the Swamp Monster in Huckamuck Swamp, which is in the Bridgewater Triangle, Massachusetts region.
Oh.
And so we get into, if you guys, again, if you're out there and you're very familiar with cryptids, the paranormal, whatever it is, you're going to really enjoy this series. There's a lot of odes to it and nods to it as well. We incorporate kind of almost like a historical fiction aspect to some of this, where there's events that have happened that actually get mentioned, and we base certain stories off of those events. So in a way, this is almost like alternate fiction. So with issue number 4, we have Belly of Broog. So Broog is this horrible swamp monster in Huckamuck Swamp. And it's a real swamp in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. And Huckamuck actually means, in Algonquin, it means place where spirits dwell. And so we find out the terrible secret of Broog in this issue. And there's a cryptozoologist team that's in great danger here. While they're in the swamp, they have a bear companion, a black bear, that gets pretty much lost, and then something happens, and Broog, of course, is the culprit. So they're out there hunting down their friend. They're trying to see if he's okay. At that point in time, King Cryptid, who's very attuned to nature and especially cryptids and animals, he hears the cry of help from this bear from over 100 miles away. And it's a very familiar cry to him. Why? You'll find out when you read the issue. So he goes racing towards the region to help out, but the signal's getting lost because there's a lot of dark energy at Huckamuck Swamp. And eventually we find out why. So he helps out this cryptozoologist team, and he battles with Broog. And we learn a lot of what's to come with the rest of the series. We learn a lot of that based off of issue 4, because issue 4 sets up a lot of events to come.
That is cool.
Hey, Pete,
there's a lot of story in 4 issues. Sorry, but
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to get that out there.
I always like to ask questions. Do everyone that King Cryptid faces, can they all always speak, or are any of them just straight up monsters that don't even have like a...
No, they speak. I mean, the Granite Beast is very intelligible. Broog is not as intelligent. So
Okay.
Broog is more like that classic kind of... like the Granite Beast is far more sentient and intelligent than Broog. Broog is kind of, Broog Smash levels of intelligence. So he's not necessarily the greatest and most articulate speaker. So he's more of a foe in terms of the fact that he's a living swamp entity, and he basically is embodied with the contents of the swamp. So how King Cryptid has to defeat something like that he has to go up against this thing that's way stronger, more massive than him. How do you punch water and make it hurt? I mean, it's one of those things. So how he battles up against with this swamp creature, you guys will find out. And these artists on board did a tremendous job. Christian Rossi on issue 1, Nick Hunter on issue 2, Alex Jovich on 3, and Kier Covington on 4, with Christian doing the colors on 4. It's been a joy to work with them. They did such a great job, and I hope to work with them again in the future too. They were all wonderful.
Yeah, they're really good artists, man. I like what I'm seeing from it. It's fun.
So, with a full moon, do you have a term when he's at full strength? Like the Hulk, they call him hulking out. Is this King Cryptid? Is he cryptid out, or is there something when he's full?
No, it's not. Yeah, he doesn't have anything like that. I'm sure that there's someone along the way that he, eventually will meet that'll coin the term for him. Same thing with King Cryptid. It's not a name that he chose. It's a name that he was given. King Cryptid is not Lord of the Cryptids. You know, he's not the king of the cryptids or anything like that. He essentially was given that name through people describing him, and it's an old Indian translation for basically what modern day terms would mean, King Cryptid. But it's a descriptor for basically the fact that he looks like his silhouette, which is so often that's how we see these kinds of creatures, is through their silhouette or just a glimpse. So you get that crown kind of silhouette, and then it sort of looks like a cape. He's got those wings that kind of fall down. An interesting thing with King Cryptid too is that the cape has a transmutative property, so it could take on the properties of something that he exactly. So he could take on the properties of, let's say, a stone. If King Cryptid wants to use his cape all of a sudden as a shield, and he's nearby a boulder or something like that, or any kind of like a rock, he could pick up a rock. His cape will actually take on the properties of that if he wills it to be. Same thing for camouflage, so he could do that with a tree. He could kind of blend into the area around him. Nice. So there's a couple different times we'll have him do stuff like that. But of course, it all depends upon how powered up his moonstone is, because that's the stuff that really enhances his powers. So sometimes very similar in a way to what I used to love about Spider-Man issues when I was a kid, that he would run out of webbing at the worst moment sometime. It's the same kind of a thing where, you know, sometimes he's going to need those powers, but it depends on the night of the moon. You know, is it a full moon? Because then a full moon, and he's got that super powered, you know, up, he could do almost anything. But if it's, you know, a quarter moon, if it's a new moon, if it's, you know, a very, like a sliver of it, if it's an extremely cloudy sky, so we'll have different kind of issues that play up with that aspect too. Or if it's daytime, issue 4 is daytime, so his power set is very limited in the daytime as well. It depends again how charged up that moonstone was from the previous night's moon.
He sits like a king.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he's been around for 500 years. You know, you get tired. He's like, I just want to watch my stories. You know, come on. You mean I gotta go out again tonight? I'm 500 years old.
That's awesome.
I always did like that about the X-Men, that their powers, they couldn't do it forever. Like the longer they were in a battle, the more tired they would get. Yeah. I do like that when there's that.
Right. Yeah, yeah. It would be kind of the same way as, you know, you're tensing a muscle. You can only keep it at that same exact kind of tension for so long before there's weakness that sets in and things like that. Certain characters, like King Cryptid, does have a healing factor. So, like on the night of a full moon, his stamina and durability is a lot higher than on the night of a new moon or a quarter moon or anything like that. So a lot of that stuff that plays into the story and things like that. We're not gonna have King Cryptid. I guess, for lack of a better term at the moment, we're not gonna have him hulking out on the night of a new moon.
Now, if clouds get in front of the moon, does that affect him or no?
Yep. Yeah. So if it's a very cloudy night and the rays of the moon can't reach, he's pretty much going to be dealing with whatever juice is left in that battery, because it kind of works like that. So as the battery gets depleted, which is what the moonstone essentially is for his supernatural powers, he has to be careful with it. And he can feel it. He can feel when his strength is kind of subsiding. And the same thing, he can feel it when it's supercharged. And then the same thing, too, on the night of like a super moon, or you get like a super blood moon. That's when real special stuff happens to King Cryptid. So there's a lot of fun stuff there. We get into a whole lot of different metaphysical kind of topics. There's also philosophical themes with the character, where he's 500 years old. I mean, he's kind of seen everything. But even then, there's still going to be characters. The Old Man of the Mountain, for those that are familiar with New Hampshire, that's going to be kind of a character within the series, and that character has seen everything. He's seen the dawn of civilization, essentially. So he's kind of a mentor in a way sometime to King Cryptid when King Cryptid feels lost on a decision or burdened. He's kind of, I guess, if you could compare it in a way, and this is a series that also influenced me storytelling wise, and I always loved my whole life, was Thundercats. So he's kind of like the Jaga to King Cryptid's Lion-O in a way.
Very cool.
Nice.
I like that.
So no Seattle or Ireland then for King Cryptid.
Oh well, you never know. I'm not gonna. There's certainly quite a bit of stuff with Celtic lore, especially because there's a lot of Celtic stuff that can be traced to thousands of years ago in the New England region. So
I mean,
yeah, we touch upon that.
Well, I mean, he would be so depowered though with all the rain and clouds all the time in Seattle and Ireland. I mean,
Doesn't mean that he might not just find himself there.
I get, yeah.
Everything's on the table with this series. I mean, if anything, I look at it and I think that a story like that is even more interesting to tell than a story when it's a full moon and he's super powered.
So
You know, when he actually has more, when he doesn't just have an enemy to fight, but he actually has to deal with something on his own. In terms of his own power set betraying him in a way. So there's a lot of interesting stories to come, but we've got the first 4 here. We're going to do 4 or 5 every single year, but
That's cool.
and that's the part that's difficult for me because I got about 30 or so issues kind of ready to go. So it's tough to not necessarily give away every single one of those stories that occurs.
Right.
Especially because down the line, like 5 or 6 years from now, there's some really, really great stuff, character and world building wise, and it's just, it feels like forever, 5 or 6 years from now. So to have to sit on a lot of that stuff, it's frustrating, but I'll get used to it, I guess.
Right. Those 5 years
Everything's
ago
possible.
fast, man.
So he might go to the moon. You said everything's possible, so he might go to the moon.
Yeah, he could go to the moon.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. And it'd be interesting if he's actually on the moon. I mean, he'd be practically a god.
He'd be like Superman, wouldn't he?
Pretty much.
Wow.
I mean, there are structures on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what would be there?
Yeah. Be nice to know what those are.
Yeah.
That's
So,
for
I mean,
sure.
there's all kinds of fun issues to tell.
Yeah.
It's something again where a lot of the stories center around things like energies and there's a lot of metaphysical stuff, but there's also a lot of elements that are very scientific. So it's a whole blending of sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and what I love the most about a lot of different sci-fi is kind of that aspect of how it works in terms of what it does. But they don't explain away every little minutia of well, this is exactly how, like, so once you start getting like midichlorians and garbage like that and it just ruins the mystic kind of magic. Yeah, once you ruin that magic, it feels
it's over,
like
man. It's over.
So
away.
yeah, we're not doing. There's no garbage like that. It's
good.
If
That's
anything,
good.
when we're going to touch upon it, and I had this conversation the other night actually with somebody else about origins of characters when they have kind of a mysterious past. So King Cryptid does have this kind of murky, mysterious past because of the fact that when he got cursed, he doesn't really remember a lot of his human days.
Okay.
So I don't know what those are, Crazy Mad. I only know of the 4, 5, and 6. That must be something from your timeline. So you have a character like King Cryptid who he doesn't fully remember his time as a human being between it being so long ago and the curse that was placed on him. The only thing he can really remember, and this is what he focused on, was his name. And his name means a lot to him because it reminds him of a time when he was a human being and not just this monster, this creature. And his real name is Crowan, Krowan. And that's all he really remembers of his life as a human. When we do see a little bit of what occurred to him, if anything, there's none of this stuff that people are going to feel like, oh, you ruined the intrigue and the mystery of the character. There's so much more mystery and intrigue. Sure. People are going to read that and have like 100 more questions. So going back to the conversation I had about a character that I felt like they had ruined and that it would have been so much more interesting if they had done it in a certain way was with Wolverine. Yes. And all of a sudden they explain away his origin, James Howlett and all this other garbage. Well, it would have been really interesting to me, and the only reason I even read the story the whole way through before I completely practically swore off Marvel between that and Civil War the first time around, was because I was hoping that at the very end they were going to then fast forward to the Weapon X project, and all of a sudden you find out these are implanted memories, and Wolverine believes that this is his origin, but it's actually still not truly his
I actually
origin.
thought they were going to do that too, and it didn't happen, right? Like,
no. It's just lame and, just another another disappointment, the long line of disappointments from the early 2000s. You know, the same thing with Civil War. I felt like that was a big misstep where, you know, if all the heroes are fighting each other, why aren't the villains around to kick all their asses all of a sudden? You know, so that kind of a thing
or got more power to kind of
really
you know what I mean, like
usurp power from various places, you know, do some destruction, you know, whatever it may be. So there's all these kind of missteps. But yeah, it's to me it was a character like that. I didn't want to do this kind of a thing to King Cryptid and remove any of that mystery and explain it all away.
Yes.
The way that we reveal any of that is going to still be in kind of a spotty kind of way, because what happens is he meets up with a shaman of nowadays, and it's to help on a different kind of case, and he psychically taps into doing a kind of a vision quest thing with King Cryptid, and psychically taps into some of his origin and gets through to some of his mind, his inner mind, and sees some of the events that had transpired that led to him being who he was turned into. But other than that, it's not one of these things where it's a whole fully fleshed out, you know, we go through it and it's just this
I love that
big tedious weird thing. It still has mystery to it.
So they did that to Boba Fett too. To me, the original Boba Fett,
they love doing that stuff to people.
It's crazy. Strange. And I told Murph, I said, we got to have a character that we get to keep, you know, mysterious. And we do have a character like that in our book, so that's going to be fun.
That's even crazy that Marvel did it, because that was always Stan Lee's thing. Like, you take the toys, you play with them, but you put them back. Like, you don't do these.
Well, nowadays they rip the heads off and they put them on the other toys, and they say new idea.
Half torso, new legs, You know,
then you come over to your sandbox and you pick up the toys and you're like, why is Wolverine's head on Wonder Woman's body?
It's like, you remember in Toy Story.
You're like, you don't like that? You bigot.
When they went over to the neighbor's house and how all the toys looked, that's what's happened with Marvel.
Yeah, it's like everyone over there is Sid from Toy Story. You know, and we're all supposed to be like, he's the good guy now.
This is awesome. Yeah, definitely not. And I love that we get to create our own characters that are going to do the things that we want them to do, and only go that far, not go to the nth degree, you know.
Well, everything should be at the service of the story, and the story should be at service through the motivations of the character.
Yep.
Otherwise, as soon as you start saying it's that way because we said so, as soon as you start doing that kind of nonsense, I mean, that's horrible. That's bad writing. That's stuff that just takes people right out of the story. That's when all of a sudden you picture. I don't want anybody to read this and picture, you know, me coming up with the story. And them wondering, well, why the hell did Pete do this instead of do it like that? I mean, obviously, you know, the story, the way it flows in the character, like, don't you even know your own character? And I think a lot of people nowadays experience that kind of feeling with a lot of stuff, where you're watching something and there's certain moments where, and you could think of all of these kinds of moments if you really think back at everything you ever loved, where there's moments that the score rises and the scene is building up and then like it plays out and you're just like, you know, to fit these fist pumping great moments. But nowadays the trend is you build to that and then you just pull the rug right out from under the audience and say, well, we're being so clever. You know, and it's frustrating. That's not entertainment. That's horrible.
It's shock and awe, and
a
whole lot of awe.
It's such a cheap and stupid thing to do because it's so easy to do it too. It's so easy to build up to those moments, and then exactly. But true subversion of expectations is actually a smart. You know, almost like the Sixth Sense, that kind of twist that's pulled off that you're like, oh, I didn't, you know. But if you look back, you're like, wow, that was layered the whole time. You know, so you didn't expect it because it's been a magic act the whole time because they misdirected you over here when you should have been looking over here. So that's really a great way to pull it off in an entertaining fashion. But nowadays it's so lazy writing in terms of just switch it around, you know, and that's horrible.
And I think it's best when you get both. Like, when you talk, the first thing that went in my head, and I can hear the music, is Last of the Mohegans. When they're going up through all those guys to get the girls, and the one sister jumps. So even though they save the one girl, they don't save the sister because she didn't wait in time. That's just such a great scene with the music and them taken out all those people. Like you wouldn't get that now. Like a movie wouldn't.
Yeah, there's
I
actual
mean,
suspense.
yeah, it's the same thing that I mean nowadays they would subvert the expectations by Obi-Wan would be like, use the Force, Luke, and he'd shoot it and completely miss, and Vader would be like, all right, we're done here. He just blows Luke up. Who's next?
It's so true, and that's what he should have done to any of the new stuff coming out, because that would have been much more fun and better than what they gave us anyway.
Well, knowing how it all turned out, I suppose it would have been a mercy killing.
Yes.
Yes.
But I probably would have stood up and cheered.
But that's that's if you go back in time. You're like, don't worry. I get it, guys, but you have no idea what you're in for. This is saving you a long 30, 40 years of heartbreak.
If they did the Darth Vader scene now where he says, Luke, I'm your father, it would have been the whole thing. It's not my fault. Children's Services. And it just, they take away all that mystery and everything.
Right.
Oh goodness. But it's just it's all these little moments that as and that's the thing is storytellers so often they crap all over the audience and make it as if the audience, they're not smart enough or whatever. We're the ones that tell us they're just the ones that watch or whatever. But that's so wrong. That's so stupid. The audience, just as much as the storyteller, knows when moments are building to certain things. And of course, you're going to have moments at certain times where the storyteller manages to surprise the audience in a very entertaining way. But you can tell when you're watching something or reading something or whatever, where something is building, where they're purposefully misleading you. And then it follows a natural progression, and you're like, okay, that's at least pulling off something that's logical. But when it's these things that they should go a certain way, and then everyone now all of a sudden starts acting out of character, the scenes don't make any sense, there's no build up to why this event just occurred, then afterwards there's no fallout for why it occurred. So there's all these different things that occur that's just, it's plain old just bad writing. And that's a lot of the stuff that we see nowadays, but they shrug it off and say, well, it's original. I mean, there's lots of things that are original, but it doesn't necessarily mean original is always good. So it's kind of, it's a shame that that's the way it is. I'd always rather err on the side of entertaining rather than just trying to be original for original's sake.
Yes. And, let the person be the hero, Not everybody has to be an anti-hero or a broken, I don't know, just whatever they want to make it out to be. Let them be a true hero. It's like they can't just let somebody be that. It's almost like they don't believe that there are true heroes.
They even had to do it to Superman.
Yes.
Break him.
Yes.
Make
they had to break him. Yeah. It made no sense what they did in those movies. So,
where if anything, it's far more believable and also far more entertaining to see a hero struggling to make the right choice and being put through the ringer, and they're trying to do their best to make the right choice. I mean, the essence of Spider-Man is essentially that kind of a thing. And they're going to make mistakes, and they're not always perfect, but they're going to try, and they're going to try to do their best. And that's kind of the same thing with King Cryptid too. King Cryptid, the heart of that whole story is essentially trying to do the best you can do in your own little corner of the world. And you can't do everything for everyone. You can't be everywhere at the same time. But if every single person out there, and I think we've all felt this way in our own lives from time to time, if not every day, if every single person out there just tries to do the best for themselves and those around them and the world around them, I mean, this would be paradise. The earth would be amazing.
Yes.
And not this thing of everyone trying to, tell you what's best for you. And I'm going to prescribe my way of life and my experiences onto you, but, worry about your own stuff and do the best that you can do. It doesn't matter what all these other types of people are doing, succeeding, failing, whatever it may be. Try to help out, try to do what you can. And that's it. At the end of your years, hopefully you can look back and be proud of them. But that's essentially what King Cryptid is, especially where he's an immortal, but it's one of those things where can he die? Does he die? Does he so far he hasn't died yet, so he doesn't know if he can actually die. He's been around, so it's that kind of thing where, well, he's here. Maybe part of the curse is that maybe he can experience pain and unbelievable amounts of pain, physical, spiritual, mental, but maybe he's supposed to just experience it for forever. So he doesn't know. So it's like he could either wallow away and brood and just, be a miserable character and think about all the destruction and all the bad things that human beings have done and just be miserable. Or he can try to do what he can do and make the best out of every day. And that's essentially what the character is doing. And I think that that's kind of what defines a hero too, is that you're up against nearly impossible odds every single day, but you do what you can.
Yes, I agree. I love that. True heroes. They're a rare breed anymore.
Yeah, it's like they're afraid of showing that kind of vulnerability too for heroes.
Yeah.
The fact that at the core of every hero there is always that vulnerability because of the fact that they wish they could always do so much more. They wish that things would be better. But sometimes it isn't going to be that way. So you could take a character like Superman and everyone thinks, oh, he must be the hardest character to write. I would think that he'd be one of the easiest characters to write.
Too.
Yeah.
And if anything, and if anything, when it comes to giving him something interesting, this is a guy with a tremendous heart and he cares about people so much. And because of that, though, that's also his greatest weakness.
Yes.
Every single time that he goes to save somebody, it's at the expense of not being able to save somebody else. He can't be everywhere all at once.
Survivor's guilt, too.
Yeah, and so how does he get through that? He gets through that with his support system, his family, his friends, those around him, letting him know, hey, you're doing the best you can do. That's all that anyone can ever ask of you. That's all anyone can ever really do. And it's that kind of a thing. So when those moments hit him hard that he couldn't be there for someone, you can have that easily set up. That's what makes those around him also heroes too. So it's an interesting thing that you don't see a whole lot of that in the comics anymore.
You don't. And I think it's because people have a hard time believing that somebody could truly make those choices. And you do see a lot of people fail, at trying to live up to whatever, like as a hero or being a role model. Yeah. And a lot of our role models have fallen in real life. You know what I mean?
Bill Cosby.
You look at people that were
America's
heroes
dad,
for you.
like frig.
Yeah, and I think people can't believe that there's still people out there trying to make the right choices or something, or that there's always something nefarious behind the scenes. But I don't believe that. I think there are people who, even if they make the wrong choice, they may be trying to make the right one. You know what I mean? I always want to believe that people are trying. And I think that's the thing. I think that then they put that on the superhero, and they think that's much more interesting to everybody. And I really got to say, it's, that's why superhero comics are supposed to be escapism for one thing. It's about the idealism.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even most stories in general are relatively supposed to be aspirational.
Yeah,
they're either aspirational or they are they're warnings, of what not to do, the road not to go down. Those are literally every single story is either two things. That's what it is. It's either this is the thing to aspire to, or this is the thing you don't want to be. And that's it. Everything else in between is just you work around it, and that's the story. Yeah, it's all these other little layers to it. But that's the heart of all of it, and it's insane to see people get away from wanting to tell a story like that, and to think that everything must be reflective of the world we live in. And the world we live in most times is depressing as all hell, and it's difficult, and it's very very hard for a lot of people to want to reflect that in the stories that we. I mean, if anything, storytelling is one of the oldest traditions of humanity.
Yeah.
Since the dawn of time. One of, if not the first written down story with Gilgamesh is a story about overcoming, and a story about perseverance, and a story about decisions being made, and did you make the right one, did you make the wrong one, all these different things. And even though you could be a great warrior and you could be powerful, there's still times where you don't do the right thing, or your power just isn't enough.
And then consequences too.
Yeah, all of that. So it's all of these kinds of things that pass down these sorts of themes that have survived thousands of years among human existence. So to come along and say that, well, now stories should just be purely reflective and no longer aspirational or filled with imagination and things like that, that actually goes completely against every fiber in most people's beings.
Yes, it's true.
And that's not entertaining either. Like, God.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Why do I want to watch a story like
as
that?
simplistic as possible, yes, it is not entertaining. You know, for most people, you'd have to be kind of like almost a sadist to be entertained by that.
Yes.
You know, and maybe that's the goal, is to entertain as many sadists as possible.
Maybe.
But that's not my goal.
That's hilarious.
I honestly, I do think there's political things like the whole communist stuff and Marxism.
Oh, yeah.
But I think a bigger thing, honestly, and I don't think people realize, I think the old misery loves company. And these people that do it aren't happy. They're not happy with their own life. And so why should other people be happy?
Yeah, and if anything, it used to be, I think, tremendously inspiring to see people who, I mean, nobody's perfect, and people who would go through things, and it was cathartic, I think, as a creative individual, to say, you know what, maybe on Earth or in this life, the bad guy doesn't get his just desserts, but in this story they do. And that's extremely cathartic. And not only is it cathartic, but it ends up becoming inspiring. And that it does lead to people saying, yeah, you know what, that could happen. Like that is something that can occur. And it makes you want to fight for a better world.
Yes.
But if all you see everywhere around you is the news that tells you the world is shit, and then your stories tell you the world is shit, and then you know, the entertainment is not necessarily entertaining, and sports stars are not doing things that seem like the impossible, and if anything, they're also telling you that the world is shit. Everything around you is just telling you everything is horrible, and what's the point? And then we wonder, why are kids struggling with life all the time now and doing horrible things that they shouldn't be doing? I can't imagine. They see horrible stuff every single day. They're bombarded with it
every day.
You know, but yeah, you need to give people not just hope, but also a sense of actual understanding that it isn't all just shit. There's a lot of great things still going on in the world. You know, what they're choosing to show you is a completely different thing.
And along with hope comes responsibility too. You know, great power comes great responsibility. Same kind of thing. You have a responsibility to give that and instill that to your children, you know, and into your to next generations. Part of the storytelling is to instill that in the next generations as well. You know?
Absolutely. And we view, I think, and I don't mean we, but I think society nowadays is viewing responsibility as this very dark word.
Yes.
If anything, responsibility
is for you, not for me. That's
right.
Responsibility has had moral coding placed upon it that responsible means that's bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like responsible is there's a burden now, you know, and actually responsibility is that's the craziest concept there is, because of the fact that it actually is the most empowering concept there is that you actually, being responsible, you have the power to do something. Yeah, that's tremendous. And I think a lot of people nowadays have that kind of feeling of hopelessness and helplessness because of the fact that they have been told, no, you're not responsible. It's somebody else's fault, you know, or someone else will take care of that. Or if you complain loud enough, someone with power will do something about it. When actually the message truly is, no, you can do something about it.
Yeah, you know, that's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Yeah, and as corny and as cheesy as it is, you know, growing up even with things like Captain Planet and basically saying like the power is yours, you know. Right. There's so many things like that where it does actually get into you going, you know what, like there is some sense there. If you just constantly say, no, the power is theirs, just make sure you vote them in every time, then that kind of completely feels like, well, now you're surrendering your power, you're surrendering your voice and your control.
Totally.
And they want you to feel, at the very least, like you are doing that, so you can feel powerless, because the more powerless you feel, the more powerful they become.
Yeah, I don't even know what else to say on that one. That was great. I totally feel like that. But I feel like
can you see now why there's a lot of philosophy in King Cryptid?
Well, you're right.
I love it. I love that.
Responsibility gives you purpose, and I think a lot of people.
Yeah, that's. I think that's where I was going with it. Is that responsibility is why people look up to you. Like when I look at my dad as a hero, My dad is a hero to me. But I think about him going to work every day. He went to work every day to provide and do for us. You know what I mean? And it seems like a shitty life, but I'm like, his responsibility was so strong that he knew that's what he had to do to keep things going. You know what I mean? That is commendable to me, and that is something I look up to, and that's something I want to instill in my boys. You know what I mean? So those are hero attributes, things that I want to see other people take on and do as well. And I hope my kids are getting that from me, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's the ultimate responsibility right there, is how are we projecting that on? And it's scary. It is scary to see that a lot of things out there are not promoting that anymore.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's even similar, once again, going back to storytelling, it's similar to even what Gandalf says about keeping great evil at bay. That it's not these tremendous acts of power, but it's the small little things, the small acts of kindness and love every day.
Right.
You know what,
Crazy Matt said. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do need to bring up the whole Captain Planet, that he did fail. He's going to take pollution down to 0. Did not happen. So he's a failed hero.
Oh, man. Captain Planet was kind of after my time.
It shows how much evil, the forces of evil as well, will persevere to get what they want. So that's the thing. The hero's work is never done. You know, there isn't just, all right, great, I'm done, all set. There's going to be no evil from now on for forever. There's no such thing. That's why it's always interesting whenever you see or hear politicians preach about kind of stuff like that. Right. That they're gonna eliminate all of these things. They're gonna keep you safe until the next thing tomorrow makes you unsafe. Then we'll keep you safe from that until tomorrow. You know, and eventually, before you know it, you're so busy being safe, you're now in a prison cell.
Well, like Bush saying war on terror, that's a war that never ends.
Exactly.
Like,
that's the point.
Who's terror? Like, who, like...
Right?
Yeah.
Terror is you and me. That's the war on us. You know, and it's that kind of a thing that it's all to get money and power, which it's a big motivator for some people. And unfortunately, those with tremendous amounts of power, that's what's interesting too about something with, like, even it's got to be something with the human experience too, because even when the American Revolution was fought and they wanted to make George Washington a king, and he's like basically saying, we just did this, guys.
Yes, that's exactly right. So he's like, we're not going to have a king this time.
Even him and a few others were acknowledging it doesn't matter how good of a person you think you have right now. The fact is that we're not trying to secure you from today. We're trying to make it so that this doesn't happen tomorrow. And it's one of those things where it's something that must be just drilled into human DNA, that, you know, we think, well, this one will be different, you know, instead of saying, well, just make it so that it's not the same thing all the time, and don't just trust blindly that, well, because this person seems like they're the real deal and they're great, you know, that the next one wouldn't be that way. And then what do you do when you deal with that person and that individual? How do you then take away their power, that you gave them all this power when you thought that you had such a great person there? So it's very interesting to see the way the history of the world has worked out. But that's something else too, right? Where they don't want people to know about history. They don't want people to know about certain things. They want it told in a certain they want it. So, and the history is already bad enough because it's already told through a distorted lens as it is. But now they want to further distort it under the guise of saying, no, this is the true stuff, and it's like, this is still just further distortion of history.
Hey, Dean, don't back up. You were absolutely right with the prior. You were right, and now you're folding under. I don't know what's pressuring you, but you were correct in the statement. Stay away from spoilers.
Oh man, it's my responsibility to tell spoilers. That's what I think.
Derek would tell you.
Not really, but yes. No, I that's what I love about us being able to do our own thing. I love that this platform's out here for us to do this on, not just on YouTube, but, you know, being able to crowdfund or create our own books, because, you know, I hope that we are able to start taking this back and start shining a light on the fact that that stuff is garbage. In the mainstream, it's really garbage, you know, that there's only a few things coming through in the mainstream that you could even probably hang on to, but because I can't say it's all bad. I'm not reading it all to know, but I'm just saying it's nice to see us coming up.
Honestly, every great story is just written by a regular person. You know what I mean? Outside of Chris Claremont, he's a freaking genius. But everyone else, like, you know what I mean? They're just some dude.
Yeah, I mean,
just some dude.
Yeah, you never know. I just want to see the indie comics kind of ramp up. You know,
they are. I don't think
they
we
are.
even close to hitting the top.
No, we're not.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's three little pigs. You know what I mean? It's we're all trying to build our house brick by brick because there's some people out there building them with sticks and straw and they're having a great time right now. But you know, it's they're going to be coming down to us eventually in a few years, and we're all building houses of brick. And they're gonna say, "Oh, please take me in, please." And then it's up to us, you know. What do? Do we do the whole? Well, I'm not gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you. Are we gonna do that, or you know? So for some of them,
I don't think you got the story right. I don't think you've got the moral of the story is that wolves are oppressors. That's the point of that story.
Well, for those people, I'm gonna be like, I don't know, I can't hear you. I'm deaf. I'm deaf.
Oh, so speaking of that, speaking of the indie comics are coming up, Ripa is making a mansion. And have you guys heard? I mean, I know he broke over 1 million.
Oh, he did. I know he was getting close.
Yeah, I mean that's the testament to the power of building your platform and your audience. You know,
yeah, it's so fantastic. And it's out there. I love to hear it. I don't know much about his book. I haven't really spent much time looking into it, but just to hear that independent creators getting to go that far, it's fantastic.
And Ripa, really, no one else makes this point, but he talks about all the race swapping. He's like, you actually make it that the black characters aren't as good unless they get something from a white character. Which
everyone's made that point.
That's a terrible thought. Like, he's right. Like, they're not.
Yeah, I've seen that made up. Yeah, I've seen that point made.
Murph, everyone's made that point, Murph.
I'm just saying, Ripa's the first person. I don't feel like people talk about it like he does. Like, he's always going off that.
Well, the good thing is that, you know, he is a black guy and he does put it out there and he's saying, look, you know, and I think that's great because it goes against, they don't have an argument against him whatsoever.
Well, people will come up with an argument whenever they want to come up with an argument about anything.
Well, they can, but they can't stand on it for very long. You know what I'm saying? It's a straw house, like what we were talking about. Easily.
Yeah, I mean, and it all is. All the arguments have been that way since they've been started. Honestly. Yeah. But you see the whole thing with all of this stuff. If anything, it's you're getting the most stereotypical portrayals of. I hate saying the term even marginalized or minority because again that is a demeaning term, but non-white characters. Yeah. You're getting the most stereotypical portrayals of those people in the history of time right now.
Like Miles being Thor and he's not in Asgard, he's in the ghetto.
It's
come on.
You know, it's very and I think that's a what if issue, right? So that even shows you in the mindset of a complete fantasy land that's being created. It's still the fantasy land is still like the ghetto.
It shows you their bias.
Even in their dreams, they're stuck in the ghetto. Shit. It's at that level.
That is awesome.
What if could be anything. But yeah, it's the hand-me-down factor. So even when you get Falcon, he's not even elevated to just he can have Cap's shield and he's taking care of it for the time being or whatever it may be. But no, he has to become Captain. He has to throw away his identity, which is again ironic because we see such a concentration so much nowadays on identity. And yet, meanwhile, these identities drop at the slightest hint of anything, especially in the slightest hint of fame, perceived fame, which is becoming someone more powerful and more famous than you are at the moment. And they do that to the non-white characters and to female characters all the time, thinking, and they pretty much will say it outright. There's been many creators and people in the companies that have said, well, that's because, you just can't create a new character. You need them to be this established character for them to be successful. And I just want to say, well, what the hell do you think the established character was before they were established? Oh, that's right. They were nothing and completely unknown.
Yeah, Wonder Woman and
And
Storm never could establish
well,
themselves all these
but
years.
it makes a point.
Superman, he's still
and what
having a
they're
tough
really
time.
saying.
That poor guy. No one knows who he is. One day, you keep at it, Superman. One
But
day
you know
they'll
what it
know
really
who you are.
says? It says that person of color or that opposite gender or whatever they're going for. It says they have no way of making it that big. They'll never be able to be that big. So we have to rip off somebody who's already big. So there's
exactly, yeah.
Feeling it right away.
And every single character, and that's where they get you. They get you feeling like they have, and the whole thing too is the fictional characters have white privilege, I suppose too. So they make you feel as if these characters, they had a leg up because they were white, right, male, whatever it may have been. And that's just complete and utter bullshit. It's the stupidest thing that anybody could really believe. But again, what does that do? It forces you to say, well, if I am of this certain kind of skin color, gender, sexuality, whatever it may be, I will never, no matter what, ever be good as this other thing because I am not that. But maybe if someone gives me, someone with power elevates me, then I will be. And that's total bullshit. You don't need anyone to come across and validate you or say anything like that. You could be anything, anyone. And you can still have massive success, a wonderful life. You can still do a tremendous amount of good in the world. So it's complete and utter bullshit. And I hate that people fall for it left and right. But people that want to fashion themselves as victims, they love to eat that up, and they'll hear it all day long. And it's unfortunate because we could do so much good in this world if everybody just believed in themselves a little bit more.
Yeah, man.
Well, and the crazy thing, like when you're talking about like privileges and everything, like the X-Men even went over that with the Morlocks. Like they're ugly. They didn't even feel accepted by mutants because they didn't look human. So they dealt with that, like even in the own community. And so,
yeah, but even look at that. Those are stories with metaphor in them, right. Brilliant. And
what do you mean?
It's yeah.
What's that?
Now we have that's the thing is people will nowadays be like, well, liberalism is this and that is the cause, and I think no, it's literalism. Literalism is what is actually killing everything, because that is what is forcing you to not think past your own self. That is what's forcing you to take everything at face value, including what authority wants to tell you. And that's what's forcing you to say, you know what, you should stop dreaming, because dreamings are metaphors. Dreaming that's abstract. Stick to the literal. Mm-hmm. Stick to being down here, and stick to just what you know. And what you know is what I tell you. So it's all of that kind of stuff is built into that. But again, it's a lot of these kind of subconscious, nuanced kind of things that get built into it. It's almost like subliminal messaging, and that gets built into it, and it turns into, well, I guess I'll never really accomplish anything because I'll just never be that person, and it's no matter how many times too, though, no matter how many times you'll see successful people who are specifically people that they say will never accomplish anything because of X, Y, and Z kind of factors. Right. No matter how many of them are billionaires, successful, wonderful people, do tremendous good, have had an impact on history, no matter how many of them come along, instead of using that as an example to aspire to, it turns into, just remember, though, you'll never accomplish anything.
You're not really one of those people.
Michael Jordan was told he couldn't make the team in high school on basketball, and he never played basketball again because they told him not good enough to play.
Exactly.
Not good enough to be on the team. Not even good enough to be a bench warmer.
Just hung it up, and then went go play baseball. And stunk at that too.
Well, he did. That's true. Perfect. He did. The baseball did not work.
Oh, man.
They told him not to, and he's like, well, I'll prove you wrong twice. And he's like, oh, crap.
And the thing is, I was a substitute teacher about 10 or so years ago for about 3 years.
Cool.
Several school districts in Massachusetts, probably a total of maybe 15 or so schools, elementary, middle, high school. And I saw firsthand there's stuff that made my blood boil. With a lot of the anti-bullying stuff at the time, it was about tearing kids down to make them trust in authority, as opposed to building kids up and making sure that their self-esteem was being built up and kept intact. And the assemblies that I would sit on, and I would talk to the kids afterwards, and that they would have questions about certain things. And I'm like, look, I was bullied when I was a kid. Everybody pretty much is bullied. Everybody goes through stuff. But don't let those kinds of words... Yeah,
Right?
oh,
Like that's
lordy, most people get it the worst from their family as opposed to anything else, you know.
Right.
So it's just one of those things of you keep persevering, you keep doing the best job that you could do, you keep your chin up, you know what I mean? It's that kind of messaging that gets a lot of kids through stuff. But if all they're beaten down with is distrust your friends aren't your friends are authority, your friend is the teacher, report your friends to the teacher. That's essentially all of the creepy 1984 messaging that a lot of the anti-bullying
Yes.
assemblies were.
Oh,
even when it came to a lot of the teachers were the biggest bullies. I almost wanted to put one teacher through the damn wall because of the fact that how they were treating a special needs kid. They just wanted a tissue to blow their nose, and they were screaming at them. The kid was crying like crazy. He was like, "I just want a tissue. I just want," and they're like, "You already got a tissue." And I was like, "Oh my God!" Just pounding on the desk, thinking like, "Just it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just talk to the kid afterwards, and just let him know, hey, don't worry about it, And but it's
crazy
that kind of thing.
Still in elementary school, that makes sense. That's
right.
Dots are connecting.
If I showed up to school and Pete's in a collared shirt and tie.
Skipper too. So he skips school as well.
Well, I didn't wear no tie. Goodness, dorks wear ties.
That's funny.
Yeah, I never had to wear a tie either. Chris brought up the Jade as Storm. Who is that? Do you guys know who that person is? The cosplay?
Jade Cargill in cosplay.
Yeah.
Nope, I haven't.
I wonder if she really looks like Storm.
Maybe if I saw it. Who would have been an amazing Storm back in the day would have been Grace Jones.
Ooh,
back when it was like Mohawk Storm. Oh, she would have kicked so much ass. I mean, she could probably still do it now. She looks great.
Yeah, actually, yes. I don't think she aged today, man.
Yeah, seriously.
That's weird.
And she's still in great shape. Goodness.
It's funny. Because I'm mixed, I got the nickname Juke and Juke. Never let that take me down. That's right, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's that kind of thing. It was so sad to see. I mean, I didn't have the most help when I was a kid. I know most of us didn't from teachers, and some of the teachers would really, egg on the bullying. But
they really do.
And they don't want to talk about that. A lot of them do they. But as far as the messaging though, that was kind of given at assemblies and books and TV at the time, it was all very building up your self-esteem and your character and to kind of still try to do good and be a good person and do the right thing and all that kind of stuff and just nowadays it's just turned into tearing down the trust within each other and it's literal. It's so sad, but it's literal divide and conquer shit among kids.
Well, for me, the reason I got into comics, I mean, I love drawing and everything, and I've always loved the medium, so that's part of it. But the other part, and the reason why I guess I pushed myself to get an actual comic finished, was because people told me I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like they were like,
"Yeah, let that motivate you."
Yeah. Well,
I'm
same
sharing
with
the
music.
Storm thing, Derek.
Oh, okay. That's okay. But same with the music. I'm in a band and they're like, well, you'll never get famous. And I'm like, does it have to be about that? Or does it have to be about the fact that I like to play and you're never going to stop me and I'm going to play until I can't play anymore. Until I can't pick the sticks up anymore. You know what I mean? And I think that driving force, it gives you a lot of confidence and it gives you the ability to do what the hell you want.
Yeah.
Your own field.
to have that measure of success is do you feel like you're doing something of purpose with your life that brings you happiness and is leaving a positive impact for not just yourself and those around you, but maybe for the rest of the world and for Lord knows how long. And the thing is, that's what's funny is that you don't have to set out to make history in order to make history. You just have to try to life the best way that you possibly can and stuff happens along the way and as long as you just kind of stay true to yourself, it's all very corny and cheesy stuff, but I think that's part of the thing. I think that's what we've been trained and conditioned to, the fact that we should just believe it's corny, it's cheesy, it's not attainable, it's bad, don't think that way, that's stupid, but that's all self-defeating kind of crap. And
it is. It's very much that way.
Yeah, it really is. It's so much more about your attitude, and that's what really determines your trajectory in life.
It really is. And the people that I work with, you know, they're like, "What? You're doing comic books at 48 years old, you know?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because I love it." And they're like, "Haven't you grown up?" And I'm like, "No."
Not till I'm dead, mother.
Why? Yeah. Why do I want to grow up?
Yeah, I ain't dead yet. There's plenty of life to live.
You know. And also, I'm like, why does that mean? Why does that equivalate to not growing up? You know, because I'm like, have you ever read a comic? Because they're pretty mature sometimes, and they have a lot of themes that aren't covered in your, you know, day-to-day TV shows that you're watching or whatever. They're very, because, you know, some of the mainstream even TV shows cover like very surfacey topics, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm going, I think you get much more literary experience and even knowledge from some of the stuff that you'll read in a comic book than you ever would on what's your experience.
It's just a different way to tell a story. That's why it's always so funny to me when certain people, you know, poo-poo on certain things. You know, if you're someone who just, you don't enjoy storytelling at all, if fictional anything is completely stupid to you, you know, you just don't understand it. Everything to you is nonfiction and things like that. Then at least I can understand the argument, you know, if it's just purely just not for you. Stories just don't. That doesn't make any sense.
You can break down anything. You love football. It's a child's game.
Exactly.
That's what it is. Like,
yeah, every single thing you break it down enough, and it's childish.
Childish, yes.
You know, some of the most serious things on the earth are childish, like war.
Yeah.
Nothing more childish than a bunch of old people with power and money deciding instead of talking things out, we're going to have a bunch of people who don't even know each other go and kill each other.
Yeah. You know, baby fits. Throwing baby fits and ego.
Yeah. You know, and they'll manipulate it's all bullshit. That's like straight out of a middle school lunchroom. You know, but
that's funny. Chris says, I may grow, but I refuse to grow up.
Toys R Us kid.
Exactly. I mean, it's true, though, man. You know, I guess that comment really kind of pissed me off because I was like, you know, it's not about whether I'm a kid or not. It's the fact that I'm doing something I love, and then other people are going to get to love it too, you know.
Yeah, it's about what brings you happiness. And I mean, especially if what brings you happiness doesn't revolve around hurting somebody. You know, more power to you. But then, you know, that's where we go back again to when I was talking about how, you know, if we all just kind of took care of our own little corner of the world, things would be great. This is somebody encroaching upon your little corner of the world and telling you how to live it and what's best for that. You know, and people just, they can't help themselves when it comes to that sometimes. It's just, you know.
They really can't.
So, yeah, but it would be great. And we would learn so much more, I think, from each other, too, to appreciate each other in that kind of way of like, wow, look at what they're doing. I don't think I could ever do that with my life, but that's so cool that, you know, they're doing that with theirs. That's interesting, you know. And that's how you start to actually have value for each other and how we actually start to respect and see each other as more than just whatever bullshit the news or the people in power would like to make you think you are. That's when you actually say, yeah, you need everybody. So even at conventions, and I've met certain people, even just on here, that'll be very enamored with the fact that, oh, I'm making a comic, or I have my own company, or I'm this, or I'm that. And sometimes they'll be shaking. They'll come up and they'll shake my hand, and they'll be trembling, and they'll be very nervous. And I'm like, don't be nervous, man. Like, and I'll be like, what do you do? And they'll say whatever it is that they do. Sometimes it's, you know, a retail job or an office job or this or that. And I'm like, dude, like that's really important too, man. Like whatever it is that you're doing, I mean, that's amazing. Everybody needs to do what they can do in order to make this world go round. So don't think that makes somebody better or whatever, or you're lesser than them. That's complete bullshit. Never think that. But it's that kind of thing. It's sad because we get drilled with that kind of thing. You know, is that like here's these people on Mount Olympus and we're all these little
it's elitism. There's a lot of elitism, and you know, even in like where I'm at, we have Honda manufacturing, and so all the Honda cars get made here, and it's weird because if you work there, you know, the people who work there think that they are definitely at a place above, you know, the people who don't work there. And it's weird. It's a very weird thing. And it's driven a lot of money into our community, and it's forced, the cost of living to come up too, because of the way that they pay people there. But then,
well, your county is the fastest growing county in Ohio too.
It is. You're right. And but it's really changed the way things are, because we were a farm town, so very humble beginnings, and then now we're almost a suburb of Columbus, and it's grown up so much and so fast. But it's weird.
Yeah, you guys didn't have a mall or a movie theater, and now
just a little town. I mean, we're a little farm town, man. I mean, that's Midwest little farm town. And
Derek didn't even have a washer and dryer. They could put clothes out, and he'd beat it with a stick. It was very country, or that. You know what? I don't want to get off topic, but because I don't want to.
You're way off topic. What are you doing? You pulled me out, man.
When those people,
that sounds like a whole story unto itself.
Yeah.
It's like then he'd go out and sprinkle the feed for the chickens. And,
you take whack his.
I don't want to think something. So Pete, when those people are shaking, are you wearing pants at that time? Or
of course. You ask that question? Of course, I'm wearing pants.
I try not to wear pants as much as I can. So.
Well, I guess I'd be shaking then too.
I don't think you should ask that.
Look, just don't come at me with that thing. That might be somebody else's thing, but that's not my kind of thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but
not that there's anything wrong with just like the side note.
But for me, it's plenty wrong with it. But maybe for somebody else, hey, I'm not gonna judge. But I'd be shaking too. I'd say, is that a rolled up comic in your pants? Or are you just happy to see me?
So anyway, the point I was trying to make before Murph talking about feeding chickens and shit, is that I was, I think it's weird that you see this elitism in people coming up, and they actually judge you on what you do or what you don't do. Or
if you don't have self-esteem, you got to.
Yeah, like that's the entirety of who you are.
It is.
Yeah, they'd love to pick one aspect of it, and then that's the entirety of who you are. Yeah.
It's like my job isn't what I'm judging anybody on. I don't really care about your job. What are you doing? Who are you? What do you do outside of that? What do you do for fun? What do you like? Those are the things I'm gonna want to talk to you about and get more out of it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I mean it almost feels like some kind of
going in and out. We cutting?
Oh, a little bit, a little robo-wing that occurred. See, Chris says, hi, I'm Pete from Full Mast Comics. Okay. Wait, why are you running away? Roboting. Come back.
Oh, too funny. I think that's more Murph instead of
I'd rather
Murph
people pitch me their comics than pitch a tent.
That's a good. That's like a good saying. Pitch a comic, not a tent.
Yeah.
You gonna put that on the submission guidelines, Pete?
Exactly. Speaking of which, I've gotten some very weird submissions over my time, including a couple of prank submissions that were basically the equivalent of such things.
That's awesome.
The thing is, they make me laugh. I don't understand when people think, like, am I supposed to just be like, those whippersnappers, get over my lawn? Am I supposed to get all... Am I supposed to call the internet police? Hello, internet police. Someone sent me a weird email.
Hey, if there's ever internet police, I'm signing up for that job because that sounds awesome.
Ooh,
like
you are weird. Too fun. Well, Pete, it's been great, man, having you on. We've had a great conversation.
Oh, thank you, guys. Yeah, really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been great. And, King Cryptid seems like it's doing awesome right now. And I got to say, you've had...
we barely even talked about... We didn't even go through his page. I love that you have the card that you basically can just pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's got some of the most creative things in his campaign that I've seen from anybody for a while. Just how you've put new items in at different times and some of the items that you've come up with. And
speaking of which,
That's
Yeah, we
great.
do full moon and new moon specials on the campaign. So speaking of that, tomorrow night being a full moon, we're going to have a full moon special for 24 hours starting at 1 o'clock tomorrow. It's going to be, I guess it's a
Awesome.
heads up for everybody that's here. You're going to get the early bird kind of notice, but it's going to just be a fun little magnet. It's basically a die cut magnet of the state of New Hampshire with King Cryptid silhouette, a profile of it, and it says "Live Free or Die" on the magnet. It's just going to be
That is
$2
awesome.
free shipping worldwide. So we'll have, I think, 100 or something like that up, and that'll just be up on there for 24 hours, and then when it's gone, it's gone.
That is cool. Very cool. I mean, I think that's a lot of, you had a lot of creativity on this campaign, which is fun.
Well, it's fun, and I got so many more ideas. It's just I'm gonna have a campaign like every year for the rest of my life in some way, shape, or form. So I got to hold back a bit. I can't just let 200 items. Let's make history here.
Yeah, but
no one's gonna know what the hell to get.
How many things you have sold out though? So you have all these things, but they're already gone.
Yeah. There's a bunch of them sold out. The
Yeah.
trading card packs in particular, we only made 500, and those are all gone. But
That's
Twilight
awesome.
inspired. Goodness gracious!
I love it.
He sparkles in the daylight. I forgot to mention that.
Nice.
Too good. Yeah, I mean, so I like the build your own. What do you call it? Perk or tier or whatever you want to call that.
Oh yeah,
Which
the
was
build your own
awesome.
bundle where you get to go through all the
Yes.
add-ons and pick your own thing. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
I think that was probably my favorite thing, and just being able to look at all that.
Because usually people will force you to get stuff that you don't want to, but you got to get so many
Yeah.
things to get the thing you really want,
Yeah.
which you don't find ever anymore.
Right.
Which I really like that.
'Cause one of my favorite things is the King Cryptid case. So
Oh yeah, that is awesome.
this opens up and has every square inch of it is covered in art. A nice premium case on there, real nice and durable. And then also the
Nice.
spine, it's got two spines. So one spine is just the technical kind of, here's a fun little King Cryptid thing. And then
Yeah.
the other spine, someone might look at it and go, what the hell is that? So this
Sure.
actually, and you can see it on the campaign page, we're going to be doing 5
Yeah.
of the cases. And the cases all hold about 20 to 24 comics bagged and boarded. And when you get all 5 cases, they make an image, a complete image across. See, even the dog knows what's up. Good
Yep,
stuff.
my dog.
So,
Right on cue.
yeah, exactly. So basically, you get each case, and then they'll all be different too. And then the spine changes. So this year is this part, and then 2023 will be the other part, and then so on and so forth. And we list
Very
that on
cool.
the site too. But yeah, I love how this came out. We got art from everybody that's involved on the series for right now, and
Nice.
then each case will have the same thing. So the next batch of artists involved in those issues, because we're going to change artists every single issue for the most part, and then bring back some favorites, of course, over the course of time. But next year's will be different art, and then so on and so forth. But yeah, you'll have a nice on the bookshelf kind of display there with those 5 cases by the time, I believe, 2026. I think that happens. So yeah.
Why did you decide to do that, Pete, instead of keeping the same artist? What was the...
Honestly,
what I mean?
it's it was both for fun and practical reasons. So the fun side of it is the fact that every single issue, for the most part, is a different kind of story. It's a different character involved. It's King Cryptid, of course, pretty much the whole time, but there's always a different situation, different monsters, different characters, and sometimes different ways in which the story kind of goes. So more like some issues will be horror, some issues will be a little more fantasy, some a little more sci-fi. Like, for instance, issue 3 with the kids. There's a lot of artists out there that are incredibly talented, but they can't draw kids to save their life. So they'll draw kids, and they look like these horrifying little adults. So making sure...
a tweet about that the other day. That, or in like the person's, or maybe it was Facebook, where they're like, just got to draw a kid's face, and it's an adult's face in a kid's body.
It's horrifying. It's like an unsolved mystery sketch. You're like, oh, I'm not going to sleep well tonight. So there's artists that are like that, and they could be unbelievably talented, but they can't draw kids. So getting an artist that was great for that, where it was going to be a kid-centric issue, and they could be very expressive with it and animated, but not in this like cartoony-ish, silly way.
Yeah.
So stuff like that with issue to issue, but then in a practical sense too, it enables me to basically pick and choose the artists that I need for these issues when they're also available. So it doesn't have to depend upon an artist that's tied down to the series the whole time, or then also, I mean, God forbid, I have a falling out with an artist because, you know, familiarity breeds contempt, and let's say they're sick and tired of me adjusting something or whatever it is. I don't know, but they don't want to do the book anymore. They're tired of it, but they're contracted for 10 more issues. That's going to be a nightmare. You know, so it keeps it fun for the artists too. They get to go in there, they get to read the issues that have come out, get familiar with the character, see the character design. A lot of the times I'll draw the characters out so that this way they're familiar with them, and then they don't have to just come up with them on the fly. So getting those artists on board to do that, it enables to keep the production schedule going. So pretty much all the art is just about done. It's I think it's like 80% of all 4 issues in total is done, and then I just have to letter everything. Awesome. And then it also and then it just, like I said, it's so fun because it enables me to actually say, because it's episodic, I can say, okay, I got this issue. Actually, I'll give you guys an example. So for this campaign, there was going to be an issue with an artist by the name of Frankie B. Washington, and I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Frankie, Frankie loves drawing kaijus and big giant monsters and things like that. So I had an issue.
I started trading cards.
Yeah, and I've known Frankie for like 15 years or so, and so this would be one of our first times working together on an issue together with a story. So I wanted to have him on one of the first 4 issues for this year that takes place with basically King Cryptid going up against the dragon, and it's the night of a super blood moon, and he needs to grow to a bigger size to defeat this dragon. So it would have had all these different kinds of kaiju-ish big monster aspects. So I figured Frankie will do a great job with that. Frankie was busy this year. But because King Cryptid is an episodic kind of book, I just kind of swapped it out for a different story, and I have Frankie working on it instead for next year. And so that we have that time carved out, and he'll be doing one of those issues on the campaign of 5 to 8. So it's that kind of thing where it enables me to actually call an audible every now and then reverse engineer if I need to with certain elements in the writing to tie into things chronologically.
Nice.
So it keeps me on my toes with certain things, but honestly, that kind of keeps it fun for me too. That it's also like this adventure of trying to tell the story in a way that works with the previous stories too, but also they're not dependent upon the previous stories, so you don't need to go in there. Right. There's editor's notes. You can read the previous issues if you want, and get familiar with a certain plot that might get mentioned or something like that. But I love being able to work with different artists on that and see their interpretations come to life. And then it has kind of the fun aspect of where it's a cryptid. It's all these artist depictions of the cryptid. So it's fun with that too, being able to work with it in that kind of way.
Now, if you do like a comic where 3 of them in a row is a story arc, where you keep the same...
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So when it is that kind of thing, it would be the same artist. I think that makes the most sense too, because otherwise it'll feel more disjointed.
Yeah.
Crazy Man's
crazy. He said it's almost time for Casey to be tired of our shit. Crazy Man said that. Yeah, my wife, you just saw her walk back probably behind me, but yeah, it's about time for her bed. So we are going to have to probably wrap it up. So
Which we do aim for an hour show.
We do. We went 2 hours. It was amazing.
Give her my apologies. Holy smokes. She'll be like, I don't care about that guy. He looks like a nutter. Like, who cares what he says?
Well, at least you're not as bad as Murph taking.
She'll be like, Dirk, stop interviewing homeless people and let me get to sleep.
I didn't think you could top it last time where you were talking. You're like, I know how I look. So.
Oh, it's fantastic. Man. Oh, look at that. Great stream and great books. Yes.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that.
Stuff. The one thing I'll say, I mean, I think it's unique the way that you are doing each 4 books, every year. And I love that idea. That is inspiring to me because I think one of the hurdles that people are trying to get over is how often they can put their book out. And, especially if you work for a living and then try to do comics on the side until things grow. How do you overcome that?
Yeah. I mean, with me, it's if I had to draw the book, it'd be like one book every 5 years. It's that kind of a
that's
thing.
what I
With
did.
everything going on at Alterna, yeah. So, I just I knew I had to, but I don't want to draw the book anyway. I'm just not that patient of an artist in terms of sequential storytelling. But
sure.
I knew that was one of my limitations. So it'd be better off if I hired people who were nailing the look that I was wanting it to be on the issue.
Well, I think one thing it proved was that it's okay if you have a different artist on different issues. And I was wondering if that was going to bother people, but I don't think it really will, as long as there's pretty much a consistency.
Yeah, so far people have really loved it, and I run a tight ship when it comes to maintaining character consistency, so it's not going to be this crazy thing of like King Cryptid has 5 fingers in one issue, and then the other artist draws him with like 2 fingers, and then he's 4 feet tall in one issue, he's 7 feet tall, unless it's the story commands it to be that way. Right. It's not going to be at the will of the artist just feeling like this is how I want to draw it, Pete, deal with it. It's making sure that they're on the same page, they understand, and getting artists too that understand story comes first, the characters come first. As far as I'm concerned, even on the issues, we're leaving the names off of the cover. It's very old school comics. I want people to get sucked into it. Like when you see Star Wars, you don't see like Mark Hamill and this and everything else. And I know he suffered a bit for that, but it's one of those things they want you to just get right into the story.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with King Cryptid, and I felt it was the same thing with a lot of comics from back in the day. The credits, of course, in the comic have everybody listed, but it's that kind of thing. I want people to just get right into the universe, right into the story.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Well, I can't wait to get it. So really looking forward to it. And congratulations on the campaign, and hopefully it just keeps growing and growing, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for dealing with me for 2 hours. I really apologize.
Oh, man.
I was supposed to just do an hour.
It's always a fun time. So you're welcome back anytime. And if you just want to come on and hang out.
Better believe it. 3 more times, right? 3 more times I get my jacket.
Yeah. Okay. I'm leaving
Here's
that
the
one
thing. After 4th, you'll probably have a while till we invite you.
I'll probably get some Dollar Tree poncho. That would be cool, though.
Poncho.
Do a Dollar Tree poncho and write like Dirk and Murph All-Star or something on there, and
like
that would be so cool.
Yeah,
you don't got to go all crazy with it. That'd be awesome.
That is fantastic.
I cherish that.
Yeah, and we'll have to do a special, stream just to give it to you, and it'll be great. So.
Yeah.
Emo Sami might have been on us with 5 times, so we might already owe him one. It's not to tell.
Yeah, it's true.
There you go.
So, well, thank you very much, man, and we will see you soon. Go back, King Cryptid on Indiegogo.com, and Pete, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Peter Simeti. If you don't want to be on Twitter because it's a hellhole, that's fine. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/alternacomics or youtube.com/Peter Simeti. Make sure to sub to both. We're going to start doing a lot of really good introspective, philosophical type creative process shows on there. So
love it.
Yeah, it's going
to be great.
Take a deep dive into a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Any special times for your shows, or are they just different times?
I'm gonna try to maintain some kind of a schedule on there, but I have to see what life is throwing at me and make sure that I can do it. Usually we go around either 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern or 9 o'clock at night.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Awesome. Well, you can find us on Twitter, Murph.
Yeah.
Where can they find you? At KJMurphy518. Okay. And you can find me at DROK, DROKK on Twitter. And then Ballad of the Celestials.
Really difficult for people.
Ballad of the Celestials is on Indiegogo right now, still in demand. So go check that out as well. Hopefully you'll like the book. And it's Murph and I's first time out, and we're excited for everybody to get their hands on it. So we're getting close. Can't wait. So everybody, have a great week. We'll see you guys then.
Good night. Like and subscribe.